Ladies and gentlemen and everything in between, welcome to Bolt Blitz Uncut, the post-game edition. For those of you who just tuned into the Saints-Chargers preseason game, a 27-13 victory for the Bolts. Thank you for tuning in to Bolt Blitz Uncut. And I cannot believe you, or you cannot believe me when I tell you how excited that I am to have my guy finally. I thought it was 8 years or 12 years. He said it was 8 years, but I've been trying to get this man to co-host a show with me for what seemed like forever. He said that he's been trying to get me back to doing this again for at least 8 years. So thank you all for being patient with my introduction. But this is the guy, the man from across the pond, 80 Simons. How the hell are you? And thank you for being here on Bolt Blitz Uncut. Welcome to the show. How you feeling, brother?
It's been far too long. So it's dark outside. It is currently 12:35 a.m. where I am in the UK. So staying up. This is pretty standard for being a fan of a West Coast team.
Well, and the time difference has got to be incredibly difficult. I remember talking to you years and years ago about what the time difference was, and then I had no idea. In my mind, it was a 2 or 3 hour thing or something wonky, and you're like, oh, no. When I'm watching the Chargers games, I'm putting in the midnight oil and then some. And that's pretty remarkable for somebody who knows as much as you do.
Yeah, some of those primetime games can finish as late as 5:30 a.m. That's completely normal. So I'm used to this. And that's just when I'm in England. Now, if I'm like a little bit further east, it's like another hour on top of that, and it's like, geez, yeah.
So he's just a truly dedicated fan, and let me tell you something. He's not just a fan. One of the reasons that I enjoy having the relationship that I have with 80 is the fact that he's a former pro player across the pond, if you will. So he actually does understand the X's and O's of the game. 80, let's start to talk about the game. We just got done finishing a 27-13 interesting match between the Chargers and the Saints. Trey Lance is QB2. Let's go ahead and start there. Taylor Heineke, not so impressive to start off the game. Trey Lance really feels as though, in my mind, to have solidified that QB2 spot. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're right. A big part of Greg Roman's offense is guys who can run. Taylor Heineke doesn't really, he's not that kind of guy. And then you've got as QB3, DJ Booga, DJ. Last year we had 3 QBs on the roster. Justin, DJ, Trey Lance, and QB2. That feels like that will be the guys who can run Greg Roman's offense.
Well, and the thing is like you had mentioned and kind of started off with, you look at a Greg Roman offense, and he strongly prefers a very mobile quarterback. We saw what happened with Colin Kaepernick at the helm. We know what Justin Herbert can do as a mobile quarterback when he's healthy. We're all tired of hearing fans out there talking about, why aren't they calling more run plays for Justin Herbert? Well, because he's got 3 broken ribs and a dislocated this and a jacked up that. You're not going to run your $252 million quarterback when he's got several ailments all up and down his body.
Yeah, and last year he also had plantar fasciitis in his foot. Again, you're not going to run a guy who's got that as well. So, having him healthy, having a backup QB allows you to open up the playbook a little bit more. And so he can run the zone reads and the design runs that he typically would in the Greg Roman offense.
Well, and see what we saw a little bit of while he was healthy at the very beginning of the year was a lot of that stuff you talked about, that zone read, that RPO offense. And it's something that you obviously saw a taste of tonight with Trey Lance. And it's something that I would expect to see in the third game as well if they end up giving him a lot of quality snaps. It's something they'd like to do with Justin Herbert. I just don't know how willing they are to sacrifice him regarding what's going on up front before we start picking on the offensive line. Peters, you're listening to Bolt Blitz Uncut. We're on YouTube. We're on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, and we're publishing via StreamYard. My producer, Kyle Nash, is in studio making sure that 80 and I dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
And in the name of that, it's DJ Uyunglele. There's a lot of I's, but no T's. in that particular piece. Anyways, just to come in, so you guys know I'm there. No, don't apologize. There are plenty of people here in Florida that blew it, and he was their QB at Florida State. So there's that. But hey, whoever's playing an ACC quarterback, soon you aren't, and the Chargers will be wiser that soon enough. At any rate, please, gentlemen, carry.
For the record, I was schooled all the way up on the ooey ugly the other night by Kyle, the producer, and he totally laced me up. I've never had to have anybody tell me how to pronounce any name ever, but I just didn't get that one. And when he told it to me, and this is to make sure that I'm being completely honest with the audience and my producer, I didn't believe you for one fucking second. And it ended up being exactly perfect. Excuse me. So thank you, sir, Mr. Producer extraordinaire. So let's keep moving. So I've got in my notes here, and we talked about it pre-show, this DB, this cornerback, Eric Rogers, long, lanky, quick, decisive, ball hawk. Picks off 2 passes, and then late in the game, he goes down with an injury. Prior to the injury, 80, what were you thinking about his play? And did he look like, prior to that, did he have a spot on this roster?
Yeah, I mean, like the guy in the last game, in the Hall of Fame game, he just comes up, makes plays. At the very least, it's going to be a depth position. So guys like, Jesse Taylor might want to be looking over the shoulders a little bit. These newer guys coming in who fit a Jesse Minter's system a little bit better. Yeah, the anticipation, the ability to cover the zone, which is what Jesse runs most of the time. That's going to be it's going to be interesting to see who fills out the back end of that 53, because it's looking nice.
It is looking nice, and there is a lot of competition. And to see Rodgers go down after making the plays that he did this weekend, like Adi mentioned, the prior week there in the Hall of Fame game, it's a tough one, but boy, is it Chargerific, isn't it? It sure feels familiar. Speaking of which, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that there's a lot of talk going around on the interwebs about, the major loss that the Chargers have suffered after losing Rashawn Slater. I want to make something clear. I keep seeing everybody out there saying, "Oh, Rashawn's not the second best player on the Chargers. It's Ladd." Like, let me tell you something. There's a difference between second best and second most important. Rashawn Slater behind Justin Herbert is the worst loss that this team could have suffered.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. I love Ladd. I expect him to be a little bit better. Hopefully he doesn't have to be. But I hear all the murmuring, if you will, across the interwebs, and let's just cut right to it. The loss of Rashawn Slater is the second worst loss on that team that you could have to lose Justin Herbert. You lose Herbert, the season's gone already, but you're wearing the Slater jersey. Your thoughts when you saw what happened and how it occurred, and where does he go from here?
So from here, he needs to have his surgery. Now, the surgeries and the recovery is tough. Now, I pulled up some stats from the National Library of Medicine, and with a ruptured patella tendon, only about 55% of players actually ever play another game. Sorry, Chargers fans, that is, this is a long-term study done between 2009 and 2023. Only 55% of actual NFL players return to actually play.
Play at all.
Yeah, at all, like one game. Return. That's a return to play stat.
By the way, we're not suggesting that Rashawn Slater is not going to return, but what we'd like to do on this show is we want to paint the most honest picture as possible.
Yeah.
If y'all aren't listening, there is literally no guarantee that he comes back to anywhere near the form that he once played at All Pro. But go ahead, AD, continue.
Yeah, so even if he does return, now, again, there are stats on that. You can track the guys who had that injury over the last 15 years, and you can kind of work that with Pro Football Focus grades, and it doesn't look good. There's pretty much nobody who returns to play is anything like the level of play. And even from playing tackle, working on the knee, that injury never quite heals up right. So when you're running jump sets and you're kicking at the tackle, if you're running with a knee injury, it can be easier to kick inside to guard.
80, you've played tackle, you've played tight end professionally. Let's talk about what you and I talked about a little bit. Let's not give them too much, by the way. But let's talk a little bit about what we talked about as a left tackle, that jump set as you go to plant. Let's say you're crafty enough as a defensive end or on that side to hit a spin or anything as far as you try to set on that jump set. If you're not stable there and you don't have the strength down below, what type of result are you expecting? I mean, it's not good.
A re-injury, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
It's like your knees are really important, and this is why you'll see so many guys on the college level wearing those braces. It's not just a fashion accessory. Your ACL, your patella, they stabilize everything. And if you've got a weakness, like playing offensive line is one of the most unnatural positions you could actually play for any sports, because biomechanically it shouldn't work, and this is why big 300 plus linemen get injured a lot. Your knees are generally the first thing to go. So as with some other players that we have that we'll talk about later on, the patella injury is not good, and it's probably the most devastating one for a lineman to actually recover from. Just purely on the numbers alone. And even if he does come back, there's almost no chance. I think there's like 2 players out of the entire study length that actually were any semblance of what they used to be. So sorry, but this $92 million guaranteed is not good right now. It's not looking good for him.
But it's so as all the opposing teams fans would say, it's so chargering, if you will. It's so chargerific. It just it fits the mold of what goes on. Dean Spanos and company, if you will. Joe Ortiz, they make Slater the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Then he goes down immediately, out for the year. The lack of, or the opportunity, or the chance, that he loses a certain amount of mobility in that knee going forward. We won't get into exactly what that can mean, but let's just say that 80 and I have been talking for several years, half a decade, about maybe Slater would be better suited for another position, but we're not going to get into that in this show. 80. Let's talk about Caleb Murphy. We touched on Eric Rodgers, and what we're waiting with bated breath to hear what the injury update is on him. But Caleb Murphy, he's been not only making plays in all the different offseason activities that the Chargers have had. We've seen him make plays during the games as well. We saw a lot from him tonight. I don't want to say is he a lock for the 53, but do you see him pushing for one of the final spots there?
I mean, he's been pretty good, like setting the edge and being able to kind of contain the rush, and also special teams. Now, if you're looking to get a spot on a roster, he made a couple of good special teams plays. That's the kind of thing that's going to earn you a spot on a roster, especially towards the back end. Caleb Murphy and Tremont Morris Bash as well. Both of these guys, they could be your like second, fourth, fifth edge rusher. And while we're at it, talking about edge rushers, if there's somebody here listening from like Long Beach area, can you call up the police and put a missing persons report out for a certain Kyle Kennard? Because nobody's seen him. Nobody's seen him. Like, even the Chargers beat writers don't write about this guy. Where is he? Like, this is a 4th round, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and it's like, where is he? He's done nothing. Nobody knows where he is.
I'm included in that group, and we looked for him. We were excited to see what could possibly happen, and here we are again. SEC, as you mentioned, Defensive Player of the Year, almost non-existent. But I got to back up for just a quick second. Our producer Kyle Nash is in the background. We had a little Tremont Morris Brash mentioning there. Help me out here. Tell me. I need the outside looking in tie. Things I love about this show.
So, I mean, listen, I spent a number of time. This definitely falls under the purview of the Black and Gold Banneret and Night Shift podcast, covering all things UCF with football and basketball, where I do most of my writing, of course, in football. And, hey, oddly enough, women's basketball, the first paid thing I did with the Black and Gold Banneret. So there's that. But Gentlemen, Trayvon Boris Brash has always been kind of a force. I think it's interesting with this particular roster. I always feel like he was perhaps a little big, not necessarily able to get the outside quite as well. Seems like somebody who might fit better in kind of a 3-4 defensive style at defensive end. Nonetheless, Chargers seem to be using a little bit different. And like AD mentioned, getting a little bit of success. That's kind of what you want to see here at this point as this group looks for that edge rusher depth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the deal. You have a very much, if you will, proven commodity in Khalil Mack. But on the other side, you have Tuli Tuipulotu, whom Charger fans are very familiar with.
Yeah.
But Tuli is one of those sneaky players. You can watch all 17 games from last year, and you'll miss him every now and then.
Yeah.
You'll forget how often he is or isn't making plays. Very solid against the run. I believe he finished with 8.5 sacks last year. I'm not quite sure if he's ready to step up to fill what was supposed to be a healthy Joey Bosa's shoes. Clearly, he's moved on to Buffalo and not so healthy again. Huge surprise there to everybody. But the edge rushing group, the pass rush, it's the second biggest concern to me, in addition to the interior offensive line. But we're beating a dead horse there. But when you look at this pass rush, how certain are you that Tuli has what it takes to be that number 2? Or could he maybe even, in your mind, find a way to push Khalil Mack, despite the fact that he's 33 and getting older by the day? Could he push Khalil Mack as the number 1 rusher on the team? Or am I giving it too lofty aspirations?
No. He's as good as he is. I think he's still trying to find his place within a system. Now, he coming out of USC was a 290-pound kind of free tech. He
was a free tech, absolutely.
He lost a ton of weight and moved around a bit. I think by the time he actually got to the Charge, he was like 245. But I mean, his natural position at the time he was actually drafted would have been more of like a direct replacement to Morgan Fox in the old State 3-4 defense. I think now they're just trying to find a natural position for him. I mean, he was making plays like off the ball, like 2-3 yards deep into coverage, carrying players last year because he was weighing a little bit less. I think they're going to try and find a place for him, but he's not a number 1 edge rusher. No, sorry.
No, definitely not a lock, and it is what it is regarding that. Here's the deal. So let's move on a little bit here, and we're going to kind of rip on last year's fan favorite as far as the non-53, but everybody fell in love with him probably because of his pedigree and his father. But we've seen what the Chargers have done at the wide receiver position, drafting Trey Harris in the 2nd round, Keandre Lambert-Smith. They can't quit talking about him this offseason. AD, I'm here to ask you right now, is Brendan Rice cooked? Like, is he done? Does he have any shot of even the practice squad with the Chargers?
No, stick a fork in him. He's done. He's like, there's guys, he doesn't do anything. He has, I mean, if you can upset Justin Herbert by running the wrong routes in practice or in a game, your days are numbered, mate. You just like, your surname is the only thing keeping you on the squad at this point. And he was like the bottom receiver on the active roster last season. I think they're trying to develop him a little bit. If he'd gone onto the practice squad, somebody would have taken him to try and kick the tires on him. But I think we've seen enough now to say start filling out applications for Walmart, mate.
Oh man, I don't want to relegate him to Walmart because I'm not sure anybody deserves that. Unless you're a people watcher, then it's the second best place to be other than the airport. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I couldn't agree more. Brendan Rice, and I don't even remember. I was listening to it. Might have been a PFF show today, but somebody had mentioned something about his inability to accelerate. He has like 2.5 gears. Like, we don't get to third. There's no suddenness. These NFL DBs, even the oldest of them, they're sudden. They react too well. Their play recognition is too high. If you can't accelerate in and out of cuts, you're not going to get it done, especially in an offense that is devised by the ever illuminous Greg Roman with all these fantastic and incredible offensive-minded schemes that really get a lot of shit done that are just second level thinking. Moving on from that, because obviously I'm being sarcastic. RJ Mickens, safety out of Clemens. Chargers bring him in. He makes some plays today. He made a couple plays the week prior. Your thoughts on Mickens? And you look at the safety group. Obviously, you have Alohi Gilman and Elijah Molden. And then whenever Derwin is going to kick inside to play nickel, those two cats are going to stay up top in both your free and strong safety position. You look at RJ Mickens, where do you see him fitting in? And is he, I don't want to say a lock for the 53 because that's goofy, but do you see him having a role on this team? And where would you play him if you did have the chance to do so?
Rotations at nickel. I mean, Derwin's going to come down into the box a lot in some of these sub packages. You can move him in and around all over the place. If you can cover zone it to a reasonable standard, you're going to get,
especially in a mentor defense.
Yeah, because like your base formation is essentially like a 4-2-5, cover free zone. You're gonna, if you can play zone, which
what's their base look like? I mean, they everybody's running nickel, but the Chargers are they're pretty standard, that 4-2-5, and then they triangulate their coverage zones. I mean, it's very basic. It's got the Fangio elements. It's obviously got some of the stuff that Mike McDonald was doing. I mean, there's a lot of that to this. When you look at the Chargers defense real quick, especially the young guys, is there anybody that stands out or anybody throughout the first two preseason games that you're like, that's somebody that I can see making an impact, whether they make the 53 or not, but somebody that you see could be an NFL player at this point?
Probably going back to Caleb Murphy and Tremont Norris Bash again, edge guys. You can't have enough of them. You can use them in certain roles. And when you've got a guy that's a fourth-round draft pick that's completely disappeared, it's an opportunity for somebody to step up. And you've got special teams and being able to set the edge in the run game. Those two on the front seven. Caldwell, we saw a little bit more from today. Got a sack.
He did. I love the burst, by the way. It's good to see a man that size actually have some explosion into the hit, too. You see a lot of them guys have that.
He jumped on him like an errant Reese cup. He was absolutely, he was on him. That was nice. I was a little bit critical earlier because we've not really heard too much about Caldwell.
You just didn't like where he was taken. It's not that you didn't like the player. We talked about that.
At the point in the draft where he was taken, there was several guys where the consensus draft boards were a little bit higher, and I thought it was a slight overreach, but he's a Charger. I'll ride with the guy as long as he performs. Where's 99? That's kind of badass.
It is.
I mean, he's a nose tackle. He is. I don't understand why in this scheme we're putting him as like a 4-round.
Hey, that's a story for another show.
I don't understand why he's basically lining him up as an glorified edge rusher in a certain sub package when the guy is a nose tackle. Just stick him there and
put him inside and let him eat up blocks and figure out where to go from there. I couldn't agree more. So the one thing that sometimes bothers me, and we won't go too far on this because we didn't talk about this pre-show, but when I look at the Minter defense is, everybody is not only asked to do their exact job, but every single play is reliant on all 11 doing exactly what they need to do. I know most people think that's the case for most defenses. It's really not. It definitely is in a Minter defense. The way that they employ some of their defensive linemen confuses me in that I really believe that T.R. Tart should have gotten more play the following year. I'm excited to see what he does this year. But when he played last year and they inserted him into the starting lineup or he was given opportunities, he made plays and he lived. He set up camp in the backfield. So a little bit of how they maneuver and wrangle the alignment of the defensive lineman that they use is a little bit confusing to me. But hey, it's just year 2 that we're going into, so I need to figure it out a little bit better. I'm not trying to be too critical of myself or anybody else out there, but the defensive lineman usage and deployment is a little bit confusing. Tart, Caldwell, set them off, 1-4 have one head up, and then go play defense. Move everybody else and funnel everything else around it. You and I talked pre-show. The Chargers don't have any quote-unquote lockdown corners right now We love what we've seen from Tarheeb Steele. We hope a healthy Cam Hart can do what we think he's capable of doing with all that length. Dante Jackson, for me, lots of speed, but he's not a lot of help in the run game. So when you look at that secondary, to kind of move over towards that and segue towards that, Derwin playing down in the nickel spot and all that happy stuff, are you concerned about what that secondary can do in that over-the-top shell that Minter's going to deploy, or do you feel pretty confident and comfortable with what they have up top?
If it's anything like last year, I'm kind of comfortable. I mean, everybody kind of does their jobs. There's no stud. We've not really drafted an early stud cornerback that you can kind of rest your hat on as being the number one guy. It's kind of it almost feels like a New England Patriots kind of do your job. That is probably what I would most related to. Is everybody has their little jobs to do, and if you're in coverage, you stick to your zone and you kind of do what you need to do, or you're going to get exposed, like a certain Mr. Bridges did.
Triqueeze, man, we saw you. Mr. Bridges there, number 31. You're sporting that 31, the former Antonio Cromartie number. I mean, that's a highly revered Chargers defensive back. To see you get kicked out and beaten over the top like that with your back turned, that's not the best showing for the 7th round pick. That being said, he does still have some special teams value. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing if they can find a way to fit him in. If they don't, I'm not overly concerned with what would be the loss of Triqueeze Bridges. Kyle, real quick, before we move it, as we move into this next small topic, we're going to talk special teams and a kicker right here. There was a 70-yard field goal. Attempted and made. I don't care that it's a preseason game. But what's his name? Cam Little?
Cam Little. First of all,
Little my ass.
I've been talking about, and we don't mean Walker Little. We mean Cam Little, the kicker. Guys, I have been making jokes about Nigel Gruff and Little being the biggest offensive weapon for the Jacksonville Jaguars, whether it's on the Duval Dive or on my writings in the Fans First Sports Network. If you want to join this party, that's fine. I'm going to quote Bruce Willis from Die Hard. Welcome to the party, pal. I've been on this for some time. This dude's been booting ish all over the place. And by the way, everyone's forgotten. Oh, I just finished the night with a nice little 52-yard two. Boop, this is what I do. No one cares that a 40-yarder's a chip shot with this dude. He is a bad mamma jamma. Yes, I know this is a Chargers show. You'll be facing them in November. You got to keep them behind the 50 or else they'll get points. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't quite feel as fired up as him, but God damn it, I'm so glad that just happened.
70-yard field goal, y'all. Listen.
70 yards. Hey, so I'm so glad that you kind of mocked fun and poked fun at the 52-yard thing. You guys are a little bit younger than me, not too much, but a little bit younger than me. I remember when those 52-yarders, they weren't giving. He said you were terrified when your kicker had a 52-yarder. Now these cats, we've seen it. They're pushing high 50s, low 60s, and then Cam Little says no, not so little. 70 yards. Ironically enough, and I need to do this, and I don't normally do anything like this, but my girl was sitting here watching it, and she said, it should count as a record. I don't care that it's preseason. It's in a game that counts as far as I'm concerned. So they should count that as the longest field goal ever because it was in a game that there was a start and a finish and the whistles, and everybody showed up for that shit. And I was like, fuck, how do I argue with that?
2 points on that. One, Cam Little's already promised to do it again sometime during this regular season, so hold on your hats. Two, the fact that Canton, after saying it wouldn't be able to count as a record, is now having to make sure he can keep the ball because Canton's still asking for the 100 inches. What is that? What are we doing, folks? Anyways, no, the main reason I jumped in is you have fellow Big N offensive lineman, A.D. Simons, on this show with us. You haven't even talked about Rocket Sanders and what he's done. I didn't get a chance to cover him at the bowl game here. I believe this would have been that wasn't the Orange Bowl. That was the Pop-Tarts Bowl that I covered for Fans First Sports Network. I didn't get to see him because they sat him. But to me, I thought he would be entirely too injured to really be an asset. Lights it up late. I need to hear a little about this, y'all.
Go ahead, 80. Take it off.
He's kind of been in and out of camp. He's had a few injuries here and there, and this was probably his first opportunity to really show what he can do. We run typically 4 running backs last season we had. I mean, the first 2, we know who that's going to be. Then the next 2, you've got, 5?
Marion Hampton and Blinky.
We know Harbour. We know Harbour likes that guy. I mean, he tried to recruit him out of high school.
Yeah, no, and we saw it too. He showed up at the high school dance.
Yeah, we saw the
like homecoming or some shit.
Yeah, and he still didn't go to Michigan. He's come back for him, and he brought him in. Now, whether I know you mentioned it on the previous one, whether we intended to go into that draft to bring Amari and Hampton to LA.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, we talked about this. Either way, the Chargers will probably have 4 running backs plus Scott Matlock at fullback. We know who the first 2 are going to be. Rocket Sanders just made a really good case for himself. And then you've got obviously Hines Ward. You've got
Naheem Hines or Naheem Miller Hines. I forgot. I didn't know about the Miller Hines part. But looking at the backfield, like you said, it's obviously Omari and Hampton, Najee Harris, Kimani Vidal. I mean, he looked great last week. I think he's the first preseason running back to have 2 touchdowns in a game in a very, very long time. So it was good to see him get on the board. He was okay tonight. Early in the game, he had that nice little 8-yard scamper. The running back situation is one that I really like a lot, depending on whether or not Najee Harris can see the field quite literally. I just no one's saying anything. And then they do this. And listen, we're all watching social media trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with him. The shot through the visor where the one eye's closed. Okay, cool. Like, I don't know if that's just coincidence, but the way that Harbaugh's talking about, I've seen his eye open. It just feels really awkward. Is there anybody worse at telling the truth about what's going on with one of their players than Jim Harbaugh? AD, where are you at, and are you worried about Najee Harris and his eye issue?
No, I don't think the Chargers will say anything until they absolutely have to. I mean, there is another player that we know has an injury, and the Chargers are just saying he's working through something, and we know he's injured, which we'll probably talk about when it comes to the offensive line. But yeah, you don't expect him to be upfront and honest with people. So yeah, until week 1 comes along and people start going onto the PUP list and people go onto IR for the first 4 weeks. Yeah, we're just kind of grasping at straws here, trying to figure stuff out.
You got me there. So you accidentally or intentionally, depending on who you ask, you set me up to segue into this next part. Speaking of people who might start on the PUP list, let's go ahead and talk about it, 80. It was real early in the offseason. We're all excited about the Mekhi Becton signing. We're all excited about the Mekhi Becton signing. We all saw that picture on Chargers.com, that K-tape, that kinesiology tape. And now you just happen to see it under a brace. And then in his press conference with Jim Harbaugh, he talks about the projected starter at right guard being Mekhi Becton. He gets questioned on it, projected, I can't be too certain, whatever. And that's not verbatim. There's just me dancing around the fact that, boy, everybody was so excited. I was a little excited about the Mekhi Becton signing, but how non-surprised would we be if Mekhi Becton starts on the PUP list this season?
I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I did kind of mention to another podcast on Twitter. Sorry, Dave, I'm cheating on you a little. But I put my over-under.
You're cheating on you now. Sorry, bro. You're all the way in.
Yeah. So I put my over-under at 11.5 games for him to actually play this year. So for those who don't know, he is injured. The Chargers just aren't telling you about it. if you see him at training camp, he has a black sleeve over his right leg. Now, I've seen a few photos of him where the lighting's a little off. The guy's got kinesiology tape over his right knee. Now, the wonderful thing about kinesiology tape is for $12.99 on Amazon, you can buy a textbook telling you how to apply this stuff. If you open that textbook up and kind of match it to the application pattern on his knee, that would to me suggest that he's got a patella tendonitis in his right knee. But the Chargers aren't telling you anything, and this is why, like, they're dancing around who's going to be the right guard starter, because Jamari Salyer may have to step in at some point. Sorry, Chargers fans. It's...
So here's the offensive line then.
Yeah.
Here's the offensive line then. We've got Joe Alt, who's flipping sides. Everyone calm the fuck down. Joe will be all right at left tackle. He may even be better. Sorry for y'all to hear that. Left guard, we know who it's going to be. It's Zion Johnson. Center, it's going to be Bose. Right guard, I'm telling you, I'm going to echo exactly what AD just said. It's going to be Jamari Salyer, at least to start week 1. Then right tackle is Trey Pipkins. Now I ask you this, and I ask all of the Bolt fam and all the Charger fans out there, but I direct this question to AD specifically. How confident are you that Justin Herbert stays healthy the entire season with that starting 5 that I just mentioned to you?
Healthy? More than 50-50? Upright? No chance. Max Crosby week 2, he is going to have a field day. He is going to have a field day, just having fun with Trey Pipkins. Now, I remember a few years ago, I think it was week 1, he worked over Trey Pipkins so hard that he led the league in tackles just off that game until about week 5.
Oh, it was nuts. It was nuts. Because it wasn't just the pass rush. It was everything that included and in between. It was horrible. And then I heard Charger fans saying out there that Trey played admirably. What the fuck?
Just no. He, there was a couple of sacks in there. There was tackles for loss. There was everything in there. And like I say, he led the league in tackles for 5 weeks just off the basis of just
based off of one game against Pipkin.
Yeah, he stole his lunch money and just danced around over it. It's just come on, man. I have zero faith in Trey Pipkins. I'm not gonna dance around it. It's just he's not a good player. I mean, when you spend your first 2 years of your career losing out to Storm Norton.
Richie is having a heart attack here in Storm Norton right now.
Yeah, he's still in the league. He is in Atlanta.
Is he still there? Hey, good. You know what? Hey, hold on. No, let me back up the truck. I am always a proponent of players that find a way to still somehow be in the league. Former Chargers, it's cool. I actually had a Falcons fan tell me that, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Maybe it wasn't quite that long ago. The Storm Norton actually did all right in the game and had a very solid game for them, literally protecting the edge, which it did not compute properly in my brain because that's not something that he's capable of.
That's not the Storm Norton we saw.
No, it's definitely not. You guys are listening to Bolt Blitz Uncut. I'm Booga Peters with my co-host, AD Simons. We're sitting here talking the preseason game between the Saints and the Chargers. It's over. It's done. We saw some good things. We saw a lot of bad things. But we'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. AD, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, especially on that X/Twitter.
Yeah, so I'm not on there too often, but I'm trying to being involved with Dave now. I'm kind of using it a bit more, but it's at AD Simons on Twitter. That's where you're going to find me for all of my football stuff. I generally only talk about the O-line and tight end position because that's where my kind of knowledge base is. You're going to find me just sharing a whole lot of Charger stuff on there.
The thing is, guys, let me do this because he's a little too fucking humble, and I'm clearly not of that same ilk. I'm not so humble. I'm going to brag on top of what he just said. Listen, there are very few people that I talk to, and for those of you that have been following me for the last 15 years, I'm not as connected as I once was, but I'm still connected-ish, if you will. I don't know too many offensive line coaches that I've talked to over the last decade and a half that know the game as well as AD does. and the breakdown of it and the actual playing of it. Listen, I this is not an indictment on anybody who's never played the game. Do not take my words and twist them and turn them into some bullshit. What I am saying is there's extra knowledge to be garnered from somebody who's actually played said positions or played in the game. When you have a guy like 80 who is just a sponge and has been doing everything he can from across the pond to bring in as much information to not only just make him a better player, but make him a better and more knowledgeable fan of the game. He's somebody that's been impressed me for so long, and I've tried my ass off to get him on my shows, and now he's my co-host. I couldn't be more thankful. 80, thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to you joining me every night. Guys, I'm Booga Peters. You can find me everywhere at Booga Peters. Don't forget to follow at Bolt Blitz Uncut on X/Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as well and Instagram too. By the way, you can't see all of them, but there are 4 of those inversion yellow Charger jerseys back there. We've got Keenan Allen. What a surprise. Glad that came back into circulation. Justin Herbert, Derwin James, and one that is no longer applicable, but somebody might love to have, Joey Bosa. We're going to throw those 4 jerseys and 4 mini helmets in. We're going to do a giveaway here. But what we're going to do a little bit differently. We're going to stack y'all up for 4 shows. That way, if anybody accidentally or is unable to listen to a show, they can get in one of the 4 shows and be able to win what I think is a pretty cool prize. 4 jerseys, 4 mini helmets. You guys have been listening to Bolt Blitz Uncut. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear us out. Listen, we're just getting started. I'm a little rusty, but we're going to be better than ever. The guests are what carry this show, the co-host and our producer, Kyle Nash. Kyle, if you had anything to say about your early experience with Bolt Blitz, what would you what would you say to put a bow on it right now for our audience out there?
I need some of what you're on, dude, because that energy's crazy.
Ow. Ow. Let's go. Let's go. Hey, folks, that's Bolt Blitz Uncut. You know who we are. We know what we're going to be, and it's always going to be the same, consistent, knowledgeable. We're here to entertain, educate, and inform. I'm Booga Peters. We are out.